All right, here we go with another video. Well, I've taken all the numbers down from our Excel spreadsheet, and we're going to go ahead and calculate this t value here. But the first thing I want to do is find out my critical region. So I've got my degrees of freedom, I know what they are, so I'm going to kind of take a look at my statistics here. So I know in sample 1, I had a mean of 74. So 74 is going to be my mean. I'm hypothesizing here that my mean is going to be statistically less than the mean of sample 2. So I'm using an alpha level of 0.05. I go into the back of my book in the tables, and for a t-test I need to know the degrees of freedom and my alpha level. So I've got 18 degrees of freedom and an alpha level of 0.05, and I get a t-value. Let me look real quick. I got my table here. So for alpha of 0.05, 18 degrees of freedom, 1.734. So 1.734 for a one-tailed t-test is going to be my region of rejection. Now, I've already determined that I can go ahead and reject the null hypothesis based on my p-value, but I want to show you how to find the t-value to find the critical region to see if our mean of sample 1 is significantly less than the mean of sample 2. We're going to find that out in just a few seconds here. So I'm going to take, from this statistic, I'm going to take t is equal to 74 minus 87 over the square root of 267.77, the variance that we had for sample 1, plus the variance of sample 2, which is 72.66. And that's going to be over the number of observations in sample 1, the number of observations in sample 2. Now there's several other ways to do this. This is my favorite way. So now that I've got all these numbers in here, I can go ahead and put 10s in there. Now I'm going to calculate this, and from this I get a negative 13. Negative 13 over, I'm going to go ahead and calculate this. I get 26.77 plus 7.266. I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of that. When I do that, I still use a negative 13 over the square root of 34.03. And then when I calculate that down even further, I take the square root of 34.03. I'll get negative 13 over 5.3833. And I'll have to get my calculator, whatever I did with that. And I'm going to take these numbers, and I don't have my calculator in here for some reason, that number, I've calculated earlier, should be 2.228. So I'll get 2.228. Now, that is my t-value. So my t-value is, actually I think it's negative. It is negative 2.28. So it's going to be a negative number of 2.228. So since it's one-tailed, I can go ahead, since I hypothesized that 1 is going to be less than, I put it on the left side. So I just kind of, no, that's right, in the first place. 1.734. So I've got a test statistic of 2.28 or negative 2.28. So yes, when I come in here, my mean is actually going to fall well within the critical region. I should have turned that hypothesis around actually to make it greater than, which it would have been over here. So either way, it will work. I know that the means of the two groups are significantly different now though, because my t-value is 2.228, which is greater than my t-statistic. So it is going to fall into this region of rejection. Therefore, I can go ahead and reject the null hypothesis, since my t-value is greater than the critical value and it falls in that critical region. So that's kind of how to calculate the t-statistic. And if you need any further help with this, what I'm going to do is on your homework, you're going to have a t-test, you'll have an ANOVA, you'll have a chi-square, and you'll have a correlation. So I'll give you an instructional video on each one of these, and that will conclude the semester when I get all the way through covered the z-test, t-test, ANOVA, chi-square, and correlation. So you'll have one question, kind of like this, over each one of those on your homework, and your quiz is going to ask questions over these tests as well. So it shouldn't be too difficult. I'll kind of walk you through it, and then on the final exam, there's going to be a lot of questions that are similar to the midterm exam. So any questions, send me an email, let me know, and I'll look forward to another video coming up very soon on the ANOVA.